Have you ever seen an opportunity and jumped in it without considering the obstacles? Kind of like diving into a pool without checking the depth. We'll discuss the next step, considering obstacles, and more on this edition of today's Antidote.
Stay tuned for today's Antidote, brought to you by the Renegade Success Network. Today's Antidote features a healthy dose of thought-provoking insights and information for business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and nonprofit professionals. Each day since March of 2020, this program has offered that one thing to help you continue on your own unique pathway to success. And now, Renegades, we bring you Bob Graham and Tom Brush.
Hey, Tom. Happy, what's today? Wednesday. I almost said Tuesday. It's Wednesday.
You're missing a day?
Somehow I missed today. I remember being there yesterday, but trying to live in the moment. So it's Wednesday.
Fair enough. I like to hear
Not
that.
worrying about Thursday or Friday or next Tuesday, just today, right now, right here, this moment. You and me.
I'm glad you're
changing
late.
the world, one
Glad you're-
moment at a time.
I'm glad you're laser focused.
I am laser focused in an exciting way. So let's get at it. How are you today?
I'm doing very well, thanks.
Good.
Welcome to everyone who is watching or listening. We look forward to our conversation today. And we hope that if you have some thoughts or ideas around it, that you will share those thoughts or ideas in the comments. As we have our conversation every day, we have a conversation about a topic. And our topic this week is the next step. Yesterday, we discussed the opportunities that arise when we consider our next step. Today, we're going to discuss considering the obstacles that may be in front of us.
I'm good at coming up with those.
Okay. All right. So we'll make sure that you kick this conversation off. And before we get to that, though, we hope that those paying attention, watching on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, or
LinkedIn Live
will share any thoughts or ideas or questions you have in the comments, because we know that will add value to our show. And at the end of our show today, Bob and I will each offer our one thing, our antidote. And we hope that if you have something you'd like to share, please feel free to put that in the comments as well. If you're listening to the podcast where you are unable to comment, one great way that you can participate is to share this with someone else, or you can rate our show so that more people will find it as they are looking through podcasts that might add value to their lives. And how would we like them to rate it, Bob?
5 stars. Laser focused 5 stars.
Excellent. You are laser focused today. I like it. And you can always join us inside our Ring of Renegades Facebook group, where you can share your thoughts and ideas there. We'll be having conversations in that group all week around this topic of the next step. So we look forward to seeing you there. All right. So what we do before we dive into our topic, we always talk about our celebrations. Bob, what are you celebrating today?
I am celebrating long-term clients. So I was talking to a client last year that I've worked with for about 8 years, and it's a company that's getting ready to do a merger. And no one knows about the merger, but the merger has huge implications for what I do for the company. And my contact with the company said, we're going to have this merger probably in the next 3 to 6 months. And because of that, you should probably think about what that means for your role. And what it really means for my role is my role is going to go away. But having that 6-month warning, 3 months, 6-month warning, and having the open, honest discussion led to me saying, well, what could I do to help you with that process? Like, well, could you do this, this, and this? Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the opportunity we get when we build relationships with companies that we work with, that you can have an open discussion, because the person said to me, no one knows this except our executive team and the other company's executive team. But I feel like I want to tell you this because it's important to what you do for us.
And now the whole world knows because you've shared it on this podcast.
I didn't give you any details. I mean, yes. Facebook and Apple are going to merge sometime in the next 3 to 6 months. You heard it here first.
Interesting.
Yeah. They're debating about whether it should be called Fapple or AppBook. That's the only thing I shouldn't have said that, but that's what's standing in the way. So Fapple or AppBook.
Fair
If you'd
enough.
like to put in your comments which you think would be a better one, I'm sure they'd love the feedback. And just so we know, and we probably need to say this, Tom and I are not financial experts. We do not provide any kind of financial advice. So if you go out and buy Facebook or Apple stock today thinking they're going to merge, you are following the wrong advice.
Okay, fair enough. And then when they do merge, you'll be like, wait, what? I missed out on that? I had that. Called it. Didn't happen. So today I'm going to celebrate. You remember we talked about yesterday? What yesterday's day of the week or day of the year was?
I told you, Tom, that I'm focused on the now, not the past and the future. Okay. So don't make me go backwards.
All right. So then I won't question you. So yesterday was National Goof Off Day.
It was.
And so I was able to sort of participate in that. So I'm going to celebrate that in an odd way.
How did you sort of participate? I'm curious.
Well, so I had a lacrosse game that I was officiating. And the game was supposed to start at 4. Well, I get to the field at 3:30 or whatever time. And there was a JV team warming up for one team and a varsity team warming up for the next. And there was some clear confusion about who was playing what. That took a while to sort out, and there were clearly some frustrations going on. Always fun. And so they finally figured it out and then decided, because one team hadn't warmed up, they were going to give them 30 minutes to warm up. So I literally had 30 minutes to sit around and do pretty much nothing. So that was my goofing off for yesterday.
Okay. All right. Not as exotic as I was expecting, but, when
you set expectations that are unrealistic.
I did goof off yesterday with one of the vendors that I work with pretty closely these days. I was goofing off with her about just helping me with an aspect of my personal life. And we were just having a nice little banter back and forth in the middle of this somewhat complicated work discussion. I just decided, I'm just going to pivot to a whole different discussion. And we had that discussion while the work discussion was going on. So it was goofing off and working at the same time. It was funny because I would say something related to the goofing off, and then she would say something related to the work, and I'd say something related to work, and then she'd say something about goofing off. It was, if you were to read the transcript, it was just very funny because it was almost like two different discussions going on simultaneously. But that lasted for about 10 minutes, and I wasn't going to do it. And then I was like, it's National Goof Off Day. What the heck?
There you go.
And I think what's interesting about it was at the end of that discussion, both discussions, I think the relationship with this person was deepened professionally and personally because there was a little personal sharing that was going on beyond just the work stuff. And as you know, when we can get past just the work stuff and really share openly about who and what we are and what we care about, that usually leads to more opportunities.
So maybe it really wasn't goofing off after all.
Well, yeah, I guess that's one way.
Just something to consider. Anyhow, Let's move on. So you stay focused. I don't want you to get lost in the past. What do we got for our Renegades today, Bob? You've been all over the place with a quote, with National Day. What do we got today?
I'm going to go with the quote from this great book, The Renegade Way. The majority of the business owners and leaders I guess this is me because I wrote the book, come in contact with in coaching, training, and networking have one common trait. They just don't believe in themselves. They don't tell me that. I can see signs. Once they start to believe in themselves, anything is possible. You know who you are. I know who I am. I don't always believe in myself.
No?
No. I know. Shock.
Well, no, I think it's fair. I think we all go through those moments of questioning what's going on. So, excellent. Believe in yourself. It's a great line to remember for the day.
Yes. Not as good as Embrace the Renegading You, but close.
Correct. Correct. It's up there. All right. So now let's get to our topic of this week. We're talking about the next step. If you remember, or if not, you can go back and listen to last week. We talked about lessons learned. And we felt like this was the next step, really, was to talk about the next step after we learn some lessons so that we keep moving forward. And so today we want to talk as a part of that next step, considering obstacles. Do you have some thoughts you want to kick us off with, Bob, or you want me to dive in?
I would start with the word that we came up with, which is considering, not giving in. We didn't name this giving in to obstacles. I find, for me, often I'll find the obstacle or two obstacles and then go, oh, this isn't going to work because of these two obstacles. I'm out. Done. Can't do it. Like when we started this broadcast 2 years ago, we didn't know what we were doing. We had each dabbled with it, but we didn't know exactly the mechanics. We could very easily say, we don't have the technology, we don't have know-how, we don't have this, don't have that, we don't have a producer, and could have talked ourselves out of it in seconds. We considered those obstacles. I remember very clearly, we talked about what we were trying to do and how it might work. And then we said, okay, those are things that we have to consider, but they didn't stop us. They didn't deter us from what we felt was important. And I think when we consider obstacles, it's just like considering the potential benefits. I think that often I minimize the benefits of doing something and maximize the obstacles. So that equation shifts to the obstacles outweigh the benefits. And I think that's just my mind telling me very simply, hey, stay where it's comfortable. These obstacles will keep you from doing something really cool. Because Bob, when you do something really cool, then you're in new territory and you're not going to know what you're doing and you're going to feel uncomfortable and you're going to make some bad decisions and it's going to go in horribly wrong ways. My mind can tell me that very, very quickly. So considering obstacles, to me, the key word there is that considering. When we consider them, that means we explore them just like we explore the potential benefits. Yeah, this could make me money. Yeah, this could really expand my network. Yeah, this could really help my team. Well, here are the 5 things that it might not do. Team might not like the idea. Team might not want to do this. So I think that's really where my thoughts are this morning. Not so much as I think someone looking at this title would have been like, oh, okay, they're going to tell us when the obstacles force us not to act. How do I know when the obstacles are insurmountable? And the reality is you don't really know. What do you think?
No, I would agree with a lot of that. I think that as you said, obstacles can easily derail us, or we can try to plan for them. For a while, a number of times in the show, we've talked about the idea of having, as you're traveling down a road, wouldn't it be great to have someone who's a mile ahead of you, who could let you know of not only all of the roadblocks, traffic jams, whatever, with plenty of time so that you can adjust. They also might be able to point out all the other things that you might want to make sure you don't miss. And so I think that, as we think about that, one of the opportunities before we take the next step is, as you said, to consider what the obstacles might be or what obstacles may lay in wait. And not as a means necessarily to deter you from doing it, although you may identify that the obstacles are too great and that the opportunity and the return on the investment of that opportunity is not worth the obstacles that you might face. And it does help you take the next step or consider the next step. Because I think so often we, as I sort of said in the opening, we see a great opportunity and we're like, boom, I'm going off in that direction without even contemplating or considering, if we do that, what are the things that might come up, or what are the things that we've set aside as we try to chase this opportunity, this next step down the road a little bit. And I think that taking a moment and trying to think about all those things down the road that may become obstacles is a really helpful thing, just so that you can plan. And then maybe we'll make each next step easier. Because you know that, okay, once I take this step, this is what's going to happen. It was interesting. A coach of mine was leading a program that they had led for a couple of years. And they started to see that people reached a certain point and they got stuck. Like a lot of the first few steps were fairly easy. And then there was like a jumping off point where people just bailed out of the program. And eventually she started to realize that, maybe I need to do something different to prepare people for this obstacle or to help them overcome it. because likely they can't see it, even though as their guide, I know it's coming. And I know they're going to hit, like, here's the make or break part where you choose, am I going to keep going? Or is it time to bail on the whole idea? And so I think that it just gives us an awareness when we consider those things of what may lie ahead for us, so that we can maybe be better prepared when we reach that point, or choose not to take that step, knowing that this obstacle might be too great for us.
Can I throw a little monkey wrench into what you just said?
Sure.
Okay. And I'm going to use your language, and you'll love this. The obstacles we see ahead are based on our knowledge, experience, and perspective right now. We can't know if they will be the obstacles in the future, because as we reach that next mile, we may realize, oh, wow, this has 4-wheel drive. I can go through that mud. We don't know that. So I think sometimes there's real obstacles that we face, and there's perceived obstacles. And sometimes those perceived obstacles we make into obstacles that turn out not to be obstacles at all. Does that make any sense to you?
Sure. Certainly. Well, and they can also go away. Those things that you might have considered as obstacles, you may find that in your steps leading up to that point, those obstacles have been overcome, and it's not an issue. And right. I think though, being aware of them allows you, or trying to be aware of them, you can't know all of them because not everything is in our control. Trying to be aware of them may help you prepare a little differently as you move forward. And I think it's one of the things about going back and doing something a second time, even though your knowledge, experience, and perspective has changed, it's still a brand new, because you've got this. There might be other obstacles, and you might know that I know that when I get around turn 3, this is what's going to stop. It's interesting. We did we built our app, the Renegade Success Network.
Dun, dun, dun.
I wasn't sure whether you would catch on to that. And through building that, we walked through a program that helped us build it. And there was a clear point in that program where the creator of it knew that this is the point where people get stuck. And so really tried to provide some additional support and resources to help that. And even sort of some lead-in conversations prior to that step. And I think that allows people to think about it. So if you were to go back and do it again, you would kind of know, all right, this is coming up. And last time I didn't get past this point. What might it be that I need to do that I can get beyond it this time to move ahead? Doesn't mean that there won't be other obstacles in line. It's just good, I think, to identify them so that you have as much information as you can. Again, based on the knowledge experience you have at the moment, to try to adapt or be prepared for what might lie ahead.
I also think for me, so one thing that helps from time to time is to consider all the obstacles I've overcome to get this far. As I consider those obstacles, like, wow, this was really in my way and I managed to figure it out. And this was in my way and I figured it out, because I think the obstacles stack up so high so quickly because we want to stay comfortable that I know for me, I've got to find ways to make them not be bigger than they are. Like I know a lot of business owners I've talked to in the last couple of weeks, gas prices to them are a huge obstacle. They've gone up a lot. It's like, okay, what are you going to do? Shut down your business? You're going to adapt to it, and your customer is going to adapt to it. It's going to be jarring, but it is. And I was talking to a company that does service at homes, and they were saying that they were going to increase their rates to offset that. And they thought that their customers would be upset, and they had no reaction. Customers, this was a heating company, and their customers didn't react. They knew. It's like, I guess it's because gas prices. Yeah. So that's an obstacle. Like, we're not going to be able to make enough money because we can't afford the fuel. And then they go to the customer, and the customer fully understands, because it's not like gas prices aren't everywhere.
Sure.
So that was an obstacle for that company that they were really rattled by, to the point where they were talking about laying off people, eliminating some of their services, and then they raised their prices, went to their customers, and the customers were like, oh, yeah, sure, okay. It is what it is.
Well, I think by them at least acknowledging that this might be a concern, that this could be an obstacle, it allows them to be better prepared with an answer.
Yep.
So the fact that they even considered it allowed them, you could have just been like, well, everybody knows that this is going to be about gas prices. So we'll just raise our prices, we'll go out and we won't communicate at all.
Right.
And so whenever the representative goes to the customer and says, hey, and they get all upset, you don't have the information. And so that obstacle becomes a lot bigger than you thought it might be because you hadn't been able to consider it or hadn't chosen to consider it.
Right. So what's your one thing today?
I think my one thing is that I think it's important to try to consider what the obstacles are. Those that you know, and those that you maybe take a second and try to put yourself in a different perspective. Take, for example, that client. Or it sounds like they took their business owner hat off and put on their customer's hat and tried to imagine like, okay, when this hits the customer, what's going to happen? And based on that, even though I don't know exactly how they're going to react, I can consider how they would react. And then we can determine what is our process, and because of its gas rates, they might say, we've had to temporarily raise our prices. We just wanted to let you know that as soon as the gas rate changes, as it likely will, and when in Maryland, the governor came out and eliminated the gas tax for at least a month, we are going to go back. And that unfortunately, so much of our business is based on the price of gas that your prices may fluctuate. And so how do we manage that? Or, they come up with an idea is like, you know what, we're not going to try to play the game. And so we are going to try to pick an average around where we think gas prices are going to go. And we're going to give you that flat rate for X number of months in a way as another option for someone else to consider. Like organizations that did that or are doing that took the time to say, okay, this is an obstacle we're going to face. Somebody's going to say, well, I can't afford it now because the gas keeps changing and I'm on a fixed income. I've already budgeted this way. So now that you can say, well, okay, here we have this other option for you to consider. It's a little higher, but it's going to stay consistent for 3 months or 6 months or whatever the case might be.
Right.
And that allows that business to do it. So I would say that if you can just take a moment and try to put on the hat of someone else that's going to be impacted by the step that you take, you may identify obstacles that you otherwise might not have seen if you just dove in, given the opportunity that was in front of you.
I like that. I like that a lot. I'm going to go with what I said near the beginning, which is the key word in that phrase is consider obstacles. Don't give in to obstacles. Don't allow obstacles to make your decision for you. Consider them. Are they really obstacles? How high are they in that wall of challenge? And can you figure out a way to get past them? Because usually that's the opportunity ultimately, is figuring out how to get past obstacles.
Certainly. Or another way to put that is how to find opportunity from the obstacles you face.
Ooh, I like that.
All right, everyone. Thanks so much for being with us for our show today. If you have thoughts or ideas or your one thing that you'd like to share around your next step and considering obstacles, please feel free to put it in the comments. And we'd love for you to be a part of our Facebook group if you aren't already. It's easy to do. Just go to Facebook and join it. And if you're really struggling to consider the obstacles, like you just can't find that way to take your business owner hat off, leader hat off, and imagine what it's like from someone else's perspective, given what their knowledge and experience is, joining our Renegade Success Network would provide you with access to others and to Bob and I, who could help you work through that challenge, help you better understand where you're at. And the beauty of the Renegade Success Network is you could join it and be a member for a long time so that you always have that resource available to you. Or you could join it for a month or two to help you overcome whatever the immediate challenge is you're facing, obstacle that's in front of you, or that you're trying to consider. And then once you move beyond that, you can stop being a member. We think that there's great value, and our members that have stayed on have found that value in what we offer and being a part of that community. And there's others who come in and to solve a certain challenge, and then they are able to move on. So if you'd like more information,
can I share some of the challenges we've been dealing with over the last couple of months with people, just in general? Because I think sometimes we talk about this, but we don't talk about it in terms that someone goes, "Oh, I get it." So time management, how to schedule better, how to be more effective in meetings, how to bring on subcontractors and manage both the subcontractors and the payment structure with the client, how to better balance work and play, how to leave one job and go to another job, how to find new sources of referrals and leads to build a business. What are some of the ones that you've dealt with lately, Tom? I know you've dealt with a lot of those. What else you got?
Well, I think, some of them are similar. I think it's about prioritizing is another one that are key. How do we determine what are the things that we need to focus on? I also think that connecting and engaging with others, and what does that look like? How do you figure out how to do that? How do you manage your day? I think that the interesting thing about it is that it's really for whatever challenge you may face. I think that's one of the things.
I think giving it a little sense of these are the
Sure.
types of things helps, because otherwise it sounds very well, is the challenge I'm facing worthy of their attention, of their time? Would this work for me? And to me, I agree with you. Every challenge would work, but I think having some teeth in it and knowing exactly what they are makes it a little more real.
Certainly. And at the same time, here's we can never understand all the different challenges that you are facing. But as you said, I think the other ones that come into play are how to deal with staff, how to manage them, how to deal with challenges that come up within team dynamics. Those things that really are the ones that make you pause and you can't figure out how to move forward. And typically it's usually around something that you have to do that relates with others, because you can see your perspective. It's very hard for them to see, for you to see the broader perspective. So for example, if you're someone who's struggling to figure out the impact that the gas prices have had on your organization and your clients and customers, that might be a great conversation to have with us. Another one that we're talking about is like, how do I plan for what's important for the next 30 or 40 days? It's one thing to look at a strategic plan for a year, to look at goals and all of that. It's another to be like, okay, how do I laser focus in on the things I want to accomplish in the next 30 to 45 days so that I'm able to get closer and closer to the goals that I am trying to accomplish overall. And I think the other thing that has come up is with people who have these dreams or wishes in their heads, and they are uncertain how to accomplish that. They're almost sort of afraid to take it out of their head and put it on paper, and trying to help them figure out that step to go from, hey, you know what, I'm really interested in finding a new job because I think that my skill set has developed and I'm ready to move forward, and I'm not really sure what the first step is. Or this hobby that I have, I want to turn it into a business, and I'm not really certain of what it is. Someone I was talking to has gone from working from someone to start thinking about consulting and opening up their own consulting practice. And what does that look like? And I think in that case, it's one of those things that you are interested in, although you've never done. And so trying to see the opportunities and obstacles so that you can figure out each step when you have a multitude of choices to consider can be very overwhelming and frustrating. And so having a chance to have conversations to walk through that, to identify the key next steps, are ones that I think will be really helpful for others.
I did put in the chat, Tom, a email address, ringofrenegades@gmail.com. If someone wants to reach out to us, we'll be happy to try to schedule a time to talk to you about your obstacle or challenges that you're facing. And I will put that in the show notes for the podcast. So you podcast people, while you're driving, you don't have to jot down ringofrenegades@gmail.com. I'll put it there for you so you can just click on it when you go to those show notes and you'll be good to go.
Awesome. All right, everyone. Well, thanks so much for being a part of our show today. We hope that you will start considering the obstacles as you think about your next step along your own unique pathway to success. So we look forward to seeing you inside our Ring of Renegades Facebook group, or maybe having conversations with you about the Renegade Success Network. Or we'll see you tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time, for our next edition of Today's Antidote. Have a great day, everyone.
Hey, believe in yourself and embrace the renegading you.
Excellent. Very focused. I like it. Take care, everyone. Thanks for listening to Today's Antidote, powered by the Renegade Success Network. The Renegade Success Network helps you confidently create your own unique pathway to success. To learn more about the Renegade Success Network and how you can take your next step, follow us on Twitter, connect on LinkedIn, or join the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. For full details on how you can join our community, go to renegadesuccessnetwork.com. Embrace the renegade in you.